Okay, so in this tutorial we're going to create this part that's on the screen, and just before we begin, the main feature types that we're going to focus on as we create this part are the revolved feature and the patterned feature, because as you can see, these tabs with holes in them around the sides, there's 3 of them. So we only really have to create one of these, and then we can use the circular pattern type to create the other 2. And likewise with these holes as well. So there's 8 of these. They're all identical and they're all at equally spaced angular intervals as well. So let's begin. I think the first thing that we'll do in the creation of this is we'll create a simple revolve. Just to kind of create this dish shape. So let's get on with that. So I'm going to create a new part, and at various points I'll refer back to this PDF, but I'm just going to keep it off the main screen for the time being. I'm just going to glance at it as I need it. So I'm going to select the top, let's select the front plane to sketch on in actual fact. And because I'm going to create a revolve, I need a center line, or it's advisable to put a center line in your revolved sketch. So I'm going to create a center line, and for this instance I'm going to make the center line infinite length. I'm just going to lock it on the origin and then lock it to vertical, and then press escape because I don't want the centerline tool still active. So there's my centerline. Then I'm going to sketch quite a simple representation of the type of shape that I want. This sort of shape. Now that's a bit difficult to see because the primary planes are still being shown, but I can temporarily hide those. So I've sketched this sort of shape. Then I'm going to put some dimensions on that. So the outer diameter. So I clicked on the center line and then that outermost vertical line, and then I'm going to drop the dimension over here, over the left hand side of the center line. You can see what happens there. It switches from dimensioning the radius of the finished revolved part to the diameter of the finished revolved part. So I want to dimension to the diameter. I want that to be 150, and then I want the length of this line to be 30, and that's really all I need to sketch at this point. So then I'm going to create my revolve. Now the system's quite rightly calling my attention to the fact that I haven't created a closed sketch or a closed boundary of lines. And that's intentional in this case because I'm going to use an option in the revolved feature called the thin revolve, and that allows me to just set a wall thickness for my revolve from a non-closed sketch, which is what I've created. So I'm going to say no, I don't want the system to close my sketch, and because of that it's activated this thin feature option. If I'd created a closed sketch it wouldn't have activated this thin feature option. And then I'm going to check what the wall thickness is on my part. I'm not sure it's actually labelled on that drawing, but it does say on these drawings that you can make up any missing dimensions. So I'm going to estimate it at approximately 8mm. We may revisit that and kind of edit that. And just to be clear what's happening here, if I view the sketch kind of almost flat to the plane that I sketched it on there, it's added 8mm of wall thickness to one side of those lines that I sketched. As it happens, it's picked the outside, and that's not what I want. So I'm going to click on this button to flick it to the opposite side. So you can either have it on the outside of the line or the inside of the line. In my case, I want it on the inside like that. So that's our kind of basic shape. that we need to begin this part with. And then I'm going to show the primary planes again, and then I'm going to begin sketching on the top plane here to sketch one of these little tab features. So I think in order to begin that, I'll try and roughly sketch in the shape that I need. So I want one line there. I'm going to use the mirror command on that line, so you can see that line selected there in that first box of the mirror command. Mirror about that plane. So I've got two copies of the same line, and they're linked together. Whatever one copy does, the other one will follow. Then I'm going to use the 3-point arc tool. So there's various different types of arc tool. I'm going to use the 3-point arc in this case, and I'm going to click on the end of one line, click on the end of the other, and then third click just kind of sets the curvature of my arc. Then I don't want the arc tool anymore, so I'm going to press the escape key to get out of that. And I'm going to, whilst the arc's still selected, so you can see it's highlighted in that pale blue, I'm going to hold down the control key and select one of these lines and put a tangent relation between those two. And I'm just going to do that again. So I've got nothing selected now. I'm going to select one of the lines, hold down control, select the arc, and then make those two tangent to each other. So if you want to select multiple entities, entity can be a line or an edge, a point. If you just hold the control key as you click on the second entity, that will allow you to do multiple selections. Whereas the normal behavior, if you say click on a line and then click on a different line, it deselects the first thing that you clicked on. But if you hold down that control key, you can select multiple items. So now what I need to do is I need to close off this shape down here. So probably the easiest way to do that is to use the Convert Entities tool and then just pick the edge of the part that I've already created and accept that. And what that's done is it's taken a copy of that entire edge and placed it within my sketch. You can kind of see that in the way that that edge now is kind of slightly thicker, or it appears slightly thicker. If I temporarily turn off the edges on the part, you can see it a bit more clearly. So I've got a copy of that entire circular edge within my sketch now. Now I don't need the whole circular edge, I just need this little portion in here. So I'm going to use the trim tool, and then all the trim tool allows me to do is just hold down the left hand mouse key and just kind of create this scribble. But whatever that scribble touches, like that for example, it will trim back to its nearest neighbouring line, which is this line and this line in my case. So it's trimmed away all that excess, and the way that you use it, just to recap, is you hold down the left hand key and it just creates a scribble shape, and whatever that scribble touches will get trimmed back to its nearest neighbouring line or lines. So I don't need the trim tool, so I can press escape to get out of that, or click on the green tick there. So I just want to put a few dimensions on this thing. So what have we got? Let's have a look at the drawing. I think looking at the drawing, the radius of this arc here is 12 millimeters. So I'm just going to get my smart dimension tool, put 12 mil on there, and then how much this tab sticks out from the edge is actually defined as a pitch circle diameter. So in order to create my pitch circle, so let's just have a look back at the drawing. So it's this dashed line here, and that dashed line on the engineering drawing that we're working from can be kind of emulated inside a sketch, and it would be classed as something known as construction geometry. So we're going to create some construction geometry in order to hold our center point of our arc here in a particular position. So the way that I'm going to do that is just to use the circular sketch tool, sketch from the center point, the origin. Try that again. Circular sketch tool. I think I inadvertently double clicked there, so here we go. So I'm going to create a circle, and I'm going to let that circle lock itself onto the center point of my arc there. So I'm going to click, and then before I deselect that circle, because you can see it's still selected at the moment, it's highlighted in pale blue, I'm going to click on this option for construction, and you can see the effect that that has. It turns it from a solid line, the edge of that circle, to this dashed line. And that means it's regarded by the system as construction geometry. And what that means is it will be ignored in terms of creating any solid matter. So when I create my extruded feature in a second, it will ignore this. It won't try and create some circular shape, but it allows me to lock other things within my sketch, the solid lines, in position. So it's used purely for construction purposes, to hold other things in a particular position. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the PCD on that. So let's have a look. Where's the dimension? So here it is, 180 PCD. So let's just dimension that up. So depending on where you drop that dimension text, it kind of modifies how the arrowheads are set up. So you could see I was moving it around there until I got this version of the arrowhead that kind of comes out from the side of the circle. It's just a little bit neater. It means I can kind of bunch these together like that. And then I'm going to create an extruded feature. So straight into the features tab, extruded boss base. We'll give it a depth. So on the drawing it's a depth of 10 mil, so we don't have to change anything there. That's fine. And then I'm just going to click on OK. So that's the result that we get from that. I'm going to change my display style back to shaded with edges, just because it's a little bit easier to see things. And then I want to add some fillet features into the internal edges here. So I'm going to click on one of those edges, select the fillet tool, set it to the size that I'm seeing on the drawing, so that would be 5 mil, and then apply it to the edge on the opposite side like that. So I'm going to OK that. So that's our tab largely complete. We do still have to put the hole through the center of the tab. So I'm going to use the hole wizard feature for this hole. You could create it with just a simple extruded cut. So you could sketch on this top face, sketch a circle and extrude cut through. But these holes are actually countersunk holes. And it's easier to manage and arguably create countersunk holes if you use the hole wizard feature rather than just doing it manually. So hole wizard. This first menu that I see when I enter the hole wizard allows me to set up all the definition of the hole that I want. So in this case, these holes are 12 millimeters in diameter. So I have to pick a standard that is a metric standard, because obviously 12 millimeters is metric. ISO is fine. Then I have to choose kind of my intention of how the hole is going to be used or how it's going to be created. A common thing to choose within here is just drill size, because it allows you on the next drop down here to have access to quite a thorough list of all the common drill sizes that you would find within that standard. So we needed just a simple 12 mil drilled hole like that. We want it to go through all the material within our part. but we want to activate this near side countersink. As I already said, the holes on our drawing, here they are. You can see that they do have a countersink on their face that they begin on. However, there's no detail on this drawing about the size of that countersink feature, so we're going to have to estimate that. So if our hole is 12 mil, let's try our countersink feature at 13 mil. We can always come back in and change that if it's not suitable. So we've set the type of hole that we need here. Now we're going to move on to the second tab. This allows us to pick a face to position our holes on. So I'm going to pick that top face. I might just temporarily hide the planes because they're becoming problematic when I'm trying to select things. So I'm going to click on that face. You can see the behavior of the system. It kind of rotates my view round, so I'm looking straight at that face, or normal to the face, as SolidWorks calls it. And then if I hover over this arc shape, the center of that arc will become visible, and that allows me to lock my hole position to that center. So I just clicked on the center of the arc, and a hole gets placed in that location. Now, if you click again, you'll get a second hole and then a third hole. So that's the behavior of this system. Now I only want a single hole in this case. So I'm going to press escape to stop placing new holes. And then I'm going to click on this center point of this hole that I don't want. Press the delete key. Click on that center point of that hole that I don't want. Press the delete key. So it's simple. It's as if you're just within a sketch. Because you are actually just within a sketch, and all that's happening here is we're just placing sketch points, and the system just puts one of our holes wherever we place a sketch point. So we only want one in here. So when you place that hole and it's locked in position, you can click on the green tick to accept, and then we can just inspect what we've created there. So that countersink is approximately the right sort of size. If we decided to increase it, we could just click on the hole wizard feature, go in and edit feature, and then let's see what a 14 mil countersink would look like. And you can see the preview auto updates. So maybe 14 mil might be a little bit more suitable. So we've created our first tab there. Now we're going to use the circular pattern feature to create two copies of that, as we said at the outset. So the only pattern feature that's available in the feature manager at the top of the screen here is the linear pattern, which is not what we want, but all the other pattern types are in this little drop down menu underneath. So circular pattern, the box that's highlighted over here in blue is the box that is waiting for some input. So it's waiting for us to click on some features or faces to perform this pattern feature on. So probably the easiest way to do this, I could start clicking on the model, but a kind of neater way to ensure that you have got all the features that you intended to click on is to open up the feature tree of the part here. I'm going to click on that little arrow. You can see the features that went into creating this part, and I want to pattern that boss extrude that I created for the tab, the fillet feature that I added to the tab, and the hole wizard feature. So you can see those three features are listed in the features and faces box. And then the only other thing that I need to click on is this box, the pattern axis. So this is the axis that we're going to rotate these features around. So I can't actually see any axes in my part, but it will accept a circular edge as input here. So if I just click on this top circular edge, it knows what I mean by that. So it takes that circle, kind of marks the center point and says, I'll rotate your features around that center point or that center axis. So now I have to set the number of instances that I want. I want these equally spaced. You don't have to have equal spacing around a total number of degrees, but that's what we're going to use. So we select the equal spacing option. We tell it that we want a pattern that goes 360 degrees, so the entire circle, and then we tell it how many pattern members we want. Now, one thing to be careful of here is that the original copy is classed as one of these pattern instances. So you may say, well, I only want 2 copies of this collection of features, but the original is classed as 1 as well. So in my case, I must set this number to 3. If you set it to 2, you can see the effect that that would have. So the original is classed as one of the patterned instances. So 3 at 360 degrees total, equal spacing, OK. So now we're going to put some of the other hole features in this part. So again, it's probably easiest to use the hole wizard. I want some simple 12mm diameter holes this time, no countersink on these ones. So the hole wizard feature has kept my settings from last time, so I just need to tweak a few of these settings. I don't want a countersink, so I'm going to untick that. I do want these holes to be 12mm, like the other holes. I'm going to position them now. I'm going to use this internal face here to position them. Before I begin positioning these, I'll probably put my PCD, my pitch circle diameter construction geometry in here. So I'm going to use the circular sketch tool. I'm going to center a circle on the origin point there, and I'm going to dimension that with the appropriate PCD. So you can see these holes are on a 100mm PCD, and there's the PCD just there. So let's do that. Let's smart dimension that circle to be 100. Now, within a hole wizard feature, you don't actually have to switch this circular edge to be construction geometry. The hole wizard feature only really registers points within sketches. It doesn't do anything with solid lines, it just ignores them anyway. But it's probably best practice to convert this circle into construction geometry anyway. So the way that we do that is just select the circle and then just tick that option again over on the left for construction, and it switches it into this dashed line. So at least we can visually see, yes, that is a piece of construction geometry. Then I'm going to get my point tool. So there's my point tool. I'm just going to drop my point onto the circle itself, or the edge of the circle there. I don't want to sketch any of the holes, so I'm going to press escape. But then I do want to lock this point to be vertical above the origin point. So we're going to use the control key to select 2 items again. So I'm going to select my point at the center of my hole, hold down control, and then select the origin point. And then in this case, I want to make those 2 points vertical relative to each other, like that. So I'm happy with that. So I'm going to click on the green tick. My hole gets created there. And then I'm just going to create a circular pattern again. So circular pattern, it's asking for which features. It's probably safe in this instance because we're only patterning a single feature, not a collection of 3 features like last time. I can just click on that internal face that hole created when it cut through. And that's probably the easiest way to select that feature. As I say, when you've got to select a few different features, it's easier to kind of open up, or it's safer to open up the feature tree here and click on them within the tree so that you know that you've got the ones that you intended. But when you're selecting just a single feature, it's often easier just to click on the model and then just double check that you have actually selected the feature that you want. If you haven't, you can click on it in this box, press the delete key, and it disappears again. So easy. So direction box, I'm going to pick a circular edge again to define the center of this circular pattern, and then in this instance we need 8 instances. So I'm just going to roll this number up until we get the number of instances that we need, and then click on OK again. So that's okay. And then there's one final part, or one final feature, sorry, in this part. There's just a 20mm center hole there. So again, seeing as we're using the hole wizard in this part, we'll keep using it. So I'll change this diameter to 20mm. I think everything else in terms of the settings is fine. We don't need to touch anything. And then I'll go to positions and I'll just pop a 20mm hole directly on top of the origin. And then that's fine. So that's our part completed.